everyone. Welcome to Real Dad Speak, a show where real dads share their stories about being present in their child's lives with the goal of raising responsible adults. I am your host, Sarah McClure, and my guest today is Mike Lee. Mike and I met over 20 years ago when we both worked for the Detroit Police Department. Mike retired as an inspector. He is an author, educator, former DJ. He is currently working as a professor at Wayne County Community College, and he is a proud husband and dad. He is a proud husband and dad. I'm sorry. Today, I'm going to talk to Mike about raising an only child. So, welcome, Mike. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Just want to ask you some basic questions. So, in what city did you grow up?
Detroit.
All right. And what schools did you attend?
I was educated in the Detroit public school system. My high school that I initially went to was Cass Tech. I got kicked out of Cass in the 11th grade, and I ultimately ended up graduating from Osborne High School.
Okay. All right. So, were you popular in school
Yeah, I think I was pretty popular. I was a little more focused on being popular and cool than I was on getting an education.
when you were at Cass?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So, did you play any sports?
No, no sports at all.
Okay. All right. So, what did you want to be when you were growing up?
Well, back then I was in the commercial art curriculum, so I was actually thinking about being a commercial artist when I was a kid. And then as I got a little bit older, uh, I turned my focus to law enforcement. I was inspired by pop culture at the time, watching Miami Vice on TV,
Okay.
and I saw it. That was all I needed to see. That's what I wanted to do.
All right. So, how many siblings do you have?
Um, Six. I'm sorry, seven.
Okay. Are you guys close?
Yeah, we're pretty close. Yeah, we're pretty close. Yeah, one of my siblings is deceased, but uh,
Sorry.
her children are still here, so we're close.
Okay. What did your parents do for a living?
My father worked in the factory. He worked for General Motors, Pontiac Motors, and my mother was a homemaker. She a housewife. She just took care of the kids and the family.
Okay. What type of activities did you guys do when you were growing up as a family?
Um, Both my parents were avid fishers. They love fishing.
Okay.
So we went fishing a lot. My parents took us to every fishing hole between here and up north, the northern parts of Canada. So we did a lot of fishing together.
Did they ever get a boat for all you guys or
My father owned a few boats over the years,
okay.
small ones, fishing boats. We would go out. He would sometimes take our friends, the kids in the neighborhood, and that was a big
Okay.
deal to them because some of them had never been on a boat before. So it was really nice. And in the summers, we pretty much spent all of our summers visiting family out of town on road trips. My parents took us all over the country in a car.
Okay.
And it was they took the three children that were common to between my mother and father. It was just three of us. My father had two kids, and my father and my mother had two. So, but they
Mhm.
were older, and so the younger group we went went out of town on vacation on a road trip every summer.
Okay. All right. Did you go down south a lot or you just said
Absolutely.
mostly?
That's where it all
Okay.
started for them. So
All right.
Alabama, Mississippi, New Jersey, California, went all over the place. Florida.
How, how'd you like that?
It
Going to
was
the
good.
south compared to living in the north.
Oh, it was interesting. It was an eye-opening experience. Uh, I saw and experienced things that are not common here, obviously. And I had a greater appreciation for living uh, in the North when I visited
Okay.
the South.
What were some of the things that you just said, wow, I'm glad I live up north?
Well, I
that you?
mean, that was back in the '70s, and I mean, as far as my memory go, I'm sure we went before then, but racism was pretty prevalent, and it was palpable then. So even as a child, I recognized and understood it. So
Okay. All right. So after you graduated from Osborne, what was your next plan? Did you go to the military? Did you get a job?
well, no, I went to college. I went to my sister. We're twins, so we graduated at the same time. She graduated from Cass.
Okay.
Uh, and I went to Wayne County Community College, and and pretty much flunked out there in my first year. So I think it's kind of I tell my students my story, and I think it's the greatest irony of my story is that the very college that I dropped out of, I'm now one of their professors.
So were you distracted again?
It never stopped.
Oh wow. Okay. So what got you back on track? Was it
Well,
your
when I
parents, your dad, your mom? Did they sit you down at the kitchen table and say, "Listen, you know, you need an
well
education," or
or get a job, and the Detroit Police Department was hiring. So well, I'm sorry, my first job was with real job was with Wayne County Sheriff's Department. I did that for about a year, and I hated it. So when I learned that the Detroit Police Department was hiring, I jumped at the opportunity. And it was there that, I got back on track. I started thinking more long term, thinking about my future, thinking about, my
Mhm.
legacy, and
Okay.
uh, and it was there that in order to elevate on the police department, I needed a college education. So I went back to school and got my degrees there.
Okay. Which college did you go to?
Well, my first college I went to was Cornerstone University. It was a
Okay.
Christian college, and they designed a program specifically for working people, and it was just perfect for me to go to work and pursue a degree at that time. So, and then after I got my bachelor's degree from there, I decided to pursue a master's degree, and I did that online through Baker College.
Okay. Sounds good. So when did you start thinking about getting married and having a family?
Um, I met my who would be eventually become my wife. I met her 2 years into my career on the police department, and you know, I'm not going to say it was love at first sight, but after a couple of dates, we really hit things off, and it was after meeting her one of her relatives. Uh, at a family function when the relative, learned that I didn't have a college degree. My wife was a college graduate,
Mhm.
and she said something. Sometimes people say negative things and they turn into positive inspiration. She
Okay.
told me when she learned that I didn't have a college degree. Oh, she says, "Oh, that will never do in our family." I mean, she was real. You know, I was like, "Wow!" It took me by surprise, but after we got married, 2 years after I met her, I realized that one day we would uh, we would have children, and and I knew that my children would have to go to college. You know, so I felt like I would be better positioned to have that conversation with them if I in fact myself had went to college. So I immediately got to work on that.
So are your siblings college graduates as well? Did your parents stress, getting a college education?
So, my twin sister, we're polar opposites of one another. I move at a very fast pace. She moves at a very slow pace. She went straight to college. She went to Western, but ironically, well, I caught up and passed her. Because she had a baby, so she got derailed her for a minute there, and I caught up and passed her. And my
Mhm.
oldest brother, he ended up going back to school late in life as well. So he got his degree first, and then I was second, and then my sister was third. So we're the only three that have college degrees. So
So your parents didn't do a lot of pressure to finish your high school and go to college.
no, no,
That wasn't.
like I said, my father was a laborer. He had a high school education as well as my mother. And I don't think they put a great deal of focus on post secondary education.
Okay. All right. But once you got your degree, you felt like, yeah, maybe my children should go back as well.
I made that decision well before I got my degree, but that's why I went to make sure that I had one when they
Hmm.
came along. So
Okay. So how
and
many?
and part of that decision was the inspiration that I received from my wife's family.
Hmm.
All of her siblings went to college and had degrees. So,
Okay.
you know, uh, I don't know. I don't want to say we were unequally yoked, but I just wanted to, do my part.
Okay. So when you after you guys met, did you say, well, we're gonna have a large family? Does your wife have a large family?
No, she only had a brother and sister.
Okay.
Uh, and, we just I don't think she or I, for that matter, were in a real rush to have kids. But I think I was a little more ready than she was. But I wanted her to do it in her own time.
Right.
And and we were 33 when our child was born. So and we got married at 25. So
Hmm.
so to be honest with you, I think that once she came along, we decided at that point, this is it.
Okay. Okay.
Uh,
Yeah. Well, that's good. Yeah. So knowing what you know now, and you see people in a hurry, young people in a hurry to get married and have kids, would you recommend that they take their time like you did and enjoy one another? And
Absolutely. I mean, one of the benefits to waiting as long as we did was
hmm.
that financially we were much better situated to, you know, care
Yeah.
for a child than if we had, did it while we were in our 20s.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, my daughter, and I know I'm probably getting ahead of your interview here, but
All
my
right.
daughter, when she was 15, my wife had already started having the discussion about giving her a car at 16, and I was like totally against it because I got my first car when I was 21 years old, and my uncle had to die for me to get that. Uh, so, uh, and my wife, on the other hand, she got a car when she was 16, and so did her siblings. So there I was teaching at a high school in Detroit downtown, and same, I think it was 11th graders, and they the exact same demographic that my daughter belonged to at the time.
Hmm.
And I did a less than scientific survey and asked all the kids in the class if any of them had permits and a few of them raised their hand or license. And then I asked, did any of them have a car? And not one hand went up, right? So I came home and I told my daughter, I said, I talked to some 11th graders, just like you, and asked them if they had permits, and some of them did, but guess what? None of them had a car. And she says, "But no, 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 Daddy, they're not fortunate." I said, "And neither are you."
Oh, that's so cute. So, what did your wife have to say about this unofficial server that you did? She still
Well,
was in favor of letting her have a car.
you know what? And I'm big on communication, so we talked about it, and I compromised. We compromised. She got a
Okay.
car when she was 17, and she was a senior at Cass. So
Okay. Oh,
yeah.
so she followed in your footsteps, went to the same house. Did your wife go to CAST as well?
My wife, she won't say that she got kicked out, but for some reason she left Cass early too. We were there at the same time. We didn't really know each other then, but
Okay.
so when my daughter walked across that stage at Ford Field,
Hmm.
you don't understand. That was me walking across the stage, and I was particularly emotional about it because in her first year, she had was following down kind of the same path that I was going down, probably for different reasons, though. Only child doesn't have the day to day interaction with children their age at home. So
Hmm.
when they get to a school with all these kids, their age, they just go crazy. And so anyway, she got put on academic probation. We lived one block from Finney at the time, and I told her, look, I mean, I was traumatized by it. I said, because I'm thinking, oh my God, it's happening all over again. I said, look, if you don't want to go to Cass, say it, and I'll take you out tomorrow, and you'll be at Finney. But she really wanted to go there, so we
Okay.
worked through that together, and she ended up graduating. So when she walked across that stage, it was one of the most proudest moments of my life.
Good. Good. So you got your beautiful daughter. When people learn that she's an only child, do they automatically assume that she is spoiled?
I don't think it's the fact that they learned that she's an only child. They just looked at. I tell my daughter, all the time. I say, "Boy, you lived a charmed life. I mean, nothing like what I." So I think that they see the trappings of her individual life at her age, whatever age that was. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And then they draw the conclusion that she's a brat or spoiled. However,
Okay.
I've always taught her to be uh, grounded and humble, and and just don't take things for granted. I said you had absolutely nothing to do with the family that you were born into. You have nothing to do with being born an American. So
Right.
don't take these things for granted.
So you wouldn't say that she is spoiled, right?
Yeah, she's spoiled for sure. I
Okay.
mean, we
So.
actually had that conversation one time, and I told her, I had to sit her down. She was about 17 or 18, 17, and I'm talking to her, letting her know that she's you know exhibiting behaviors that suggest to me that she's a brat. I said you're spoiled. I said your problem is you've never needed, let alone wanted, because you never
Mhm.
needed for anything. Uh, I said, and you're spoiled. And her response to him, very sharp kid, very quick witted. She said, Daddy, I didn't get here by myself. And then
Okay.
I'm quick witted also. I said exactly, which is the reason why it's my responsibility to reel you in. And of course, she said, no.
So you intentionally spoiled her. What about the grandparents? Did they intentionally
She
spoil
was
her?
there first. My wife's see all of my siblings, every last one of my siblings had children. My daughter was the last grandchild on my side of the family.
Okay.
So uh so her family, is particularly her father, spoiled her rotten. I mean, and it goes on to this day. So she got it. Now my parents, not so much because they had, a gang of nieces and grandchildren by then. So.
Hmm. Yeah. So is she the youngest? Is your wife the youngest? The reason why she's spoiled, or
My wife is the oldest of her siblings.
and she's spoiled like that?
Yep.
Okay. So
Yep.
she was the first.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So when your daughter was old enough, did you give her chores to do, or did you and your wife do the cleaning around the house and stuff like that?
No, she had chores, duties, and responsibilities, and you know we constantly poured our values into her. We
Okay.
we made her acutely aware of the importance of work and the importance of earning a living and making your own way in life.
Okay.
And quite frankly, she has. I mean, they exceed mine for sure. She has an excellent work ethic. I mean, she gets to work on time. And when she gets there, she does what she's supposed to do, and she has an excellent work ethic. I think she probably
Good.
gets more of that from her mom than she does me. Uh, my wife, when we were on the police department, my wife always, boasted about her BV days that she got because she didn't use her sick time.
Uh-huh.
And I told her, I said, "You get 5 BB days a year. I get 12. They're called sick days."
Lord have mercy. Wow. So when she was little, your daughter, did she expect to hear yes when she asks you and her mom for things?
She absolutely was not used to no, you know, and at times, she, you know, bucked whenever she didn't get her way. But it was important, for me, and my wife was more of a softie in that department than I am, but. Stand your ground. You don't. No means no. She has to learn that not every door is going to be open for her. Uh, So, and now I think she understands that in spades for sure now.
So did she ever try, like when you and mom said no, did she ever pick up that phone and call her grandparents because she knew they would say yes, especially her granddad? Did you
I
ever
can't
have
think
that?
I can't think of a specific instance when she did that, but I'm certain that it happened. It happened for sure. Yeah, yeah,
And they will never tell.
yeah. Right. Absolutely.
They will
Absolutely.
never tell.
Right.
Okay. So at what age did you realize that you had to start teaching her about money because money doesn't grow on trees since she was so used to hearing yes when she wanted something?
Um, it was she was a teenager, still at Cass, and you know, I think I actually think she thought money did grow on trees because when she wanted some money, she said, we say, well, I don't have any money to get that or whatever. Can't you go to the bank? As though the bank is a place where you just go and pick up some money if you need it.
Right.
Um, and I remember we sent her on a HBCU college tour
Hmm.
and gave her her money so she had some spending money, and she came home with a $375 belt, Ferragamo belt. And she spent
Wow.
$375 on this belt, and that's when I had to sit her down and just talk to her, and then let her know. And right now, I would even go as far as say she's kind of frugal, because she's spending her. See, when you got spending somebody else's money,
Oh yeah.
the sky's the limit. So,
Right, right.
yeah. So,
Yeah. Okay, so when you would buy her snacks and toys, she was basically the only one in the house that would eat or play with the toys. So when she was around like her friends and cousins, what did you teach her about sharing? Because kids, I mean, you don't eat Cocoa Puffs or you don't play with her dolls. All her stuff, wherever she put it, it was there when she came back. You know, any snacks, whatever kids eat, most adults don't. So, how did she learn? How did you teach her about sharing when she did get around her cousins and friends when she had stuff?
well, when she was much younger, she struggled with
Right.
that mightily, because everything that wasn't nailed down was hers in her mind. I
Right.
mean, even my and my wife's stuff. So, matter of fact, we used to joke because her favorite word at the time was mine, mine, mine. Uh, and and when her cousins would come over, you know, younger cousins. She had a younger cousin on my wife's side. She come over and if now she's not even playing with the toy. Her cousin wanted to play with it. Then she didn't want her to play with it. So I had to sit her down and explain to her,
Right.
that's not how we do things.
Right. Right.
And it took some time, but she eventually,
Mhm.
got to that point. But like I said, she had so much stuff. She got to the point where she would give her toys away to kids who, uh, in her view, didn't have the same situation that she had. She's not playing with it anymore. It's still in good shape, and she would offer to give other kids her toys.
That's nice. That was
Mhm.
nice. Okay. So now, being an only child, when she got older, did she ever ask you guys for a sibling or even a pet like a dog or a cat?
Yeah, she has a cat right now. As a matter of fact, she's been out of the house for almost a little over a year now, and
Okay.
she got a cat. Uh, but she lives alone, so that's I think that's understandable. But a dog pet completely out of was never an option. Because
Okay.
I
Did
said
she
no, I'm
ask
not.
you?
Hmm?
Did she ask you
Oh
for
yeah,
it?
oh yeah.
What about
Nope,
having a brother or a sister? Did she ever bring that up to you guys,
nope,
or she
nope. She never said she wanted a sibling. Oh, I think
really?
she I think she had quickly gotten used to and grown content with being the only child. Now she didn't really in her mind, I don't think she felt like an only child because all of those cousins that she had,
Mm-hmm.
before she was old enough to go to preschool, my mother, you know, raised her when we were at work, kept her for us, and she was around all those other kids. So she didn't miss that. They were
Yeah.
like her older brothers and sisters.
So when she came home, she was like, "Woo, thank you, Lord, peace and quiet."
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. But she was
Okay.
also a lot more advanced intellectually than
Mm-hmm.
the kids that she interacted with when she went to preschool, because that's what they do when they're that age. She was learning from her older,
Right.
cousin. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Um. Let me see. Oh, did you feel a little guilty at first, uh, when she wanted to go buy something or do something and you were just like no? Did you have to explain to her that you know we've spent enough money or whatever, because she's so used to getting stuff? The first time you had to tell her no, did you feel kind of guilty about that?
No, because I uh, I thought it was important to be. I'm a realist, and
Okay.
I thought it was important to you know uh, deal with her from a very real standpoint.
Mhm.
Example that I like to use is her cousin on my wife's side, a few years younger than her. Uh, my wife's sister's daughter. She absolutely spoils the heck out of that child,
Okay.
and so we would go out to a family dinner for somebody's birthday, and a lot of times we went to Red Lobster. Well, until my daughter turned, I think, 13 years old, she understood. She understood. You're ordering from the kids menu. Period. Don't
Okay.
even ask me for this expensive, and she understood the mission and she adhered to it. And but she had to sit there and watch her cousin order the Admiral's feast or whatever. And my
Wow.
brother-in-law, you know, he's mad about it because his wife is buying this and he already knows what's gonna happen. She played over it every single time.
Wow.
So this one time, I took my niece and my daughter to the House of Pancakes or original House of Pancakes, place on Mack Avenue in Grosse Pointe.
Yeah.
And I told them, go ahead and order. Y'all ordering from the kids menu. So they were younger then, and my niece, she's about 5 or 6. She didn't want anything off the kids menu. She wanted this adult meal. So, well, no, you're gonna order from the kids menu. And then and so she sat there and pouted, and and the lady came back, the waitress came back, take orders. My daughter gave her order. We gave her, and so we asked her, and I said, I guess she's not hungry. You can take her menu. And then my daughter looked at my niece and says, Haley, my daddy is serious. You better order something you want to eat.
Whoa. Because pouting usually gets her way when she's with her mom
Absolutely.
and dad. Okay. Yeah.
Right. And my daughter knew that's not going to work with this guy. Been there, done
Yeah.
that. I've tried it. It doesn't work.
Now, is your niece the only child too?
Well, she was their only child.
Okay.
Her husband had two sons
Okay.
already. Yeah.
All right.
So,
All right. Okay. So when your daughter was growing up, did she like going outside and playing with the other kids, or was she just comfortable being by herself?
um, she could take it either way. And quite honestly, she was never, really by herself per se. She was like spent a lot of time with her cousins at my parents' house. And here, when you got an only child, they don't have any playmates. You're their playmate. So,
Right.
we spent a lot of time playing with her. If I bought her, like I went and bought her Wii, guess
Hmm.
what I'm gonna be playing? I'm gonna be playing Wii with her, so
Yeah.
uh so you're their playmate when they're that, only child,
Yeah. So is she more independent and confident than most kids her age?
ridiculously so.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm.
she uh I don't think, once again, it's those values that are poured into her. I don't think that she thinks there's anything that she can't do, Uh, and we took her on her first flight when she was 2 years old, and I mean, and it's nothing for her to get on a plane and go for her 25th birthday, which was last June. We went to Thailand. You know, her
Uh,
oldest cousin, one of her older cousins, went with her. But she's she has no apprehension whatsoever. She's she has a great deal of confidence and self-esteem, and
so what did you and her mom do to help build up her self-esteem like that? What did you do? What did you
it
say?
it was uh it was by design. There many times I've had conversations, discussions with my wife, and told her, I said, um, not just for our daughter but for each other. There's plenty of people out in the world that are waiting to tear us down. I said, and the purpose of a family is to build each other up, and so uh, we constantly made sure that she knew that she was loved, she was respected, she was protected, and uh, and I think that has led to who she is right now.
Good, good. I like that.
Hmm.
So you say your method of communicating is to be real with her.
Yeah.
So you don't wait for things to happen. If something happens, you're sitting right there or you're calling her up right away. Is that how you do it? And y'all have a conversation, or she listens and you talk?
Well, she used to accuse me of being a lecturer, but whenever a situation presented itself, it often led to a discussion. Sometimes it was just me and her. Sometimes it was a family discussion.
Hmm.
Uh, but I tried to seize every opportunity to make sure that she got the lesson that was attached to the experience. I said there's a lesson in every one of the experiences that we have in life. Uh,
Right.
so, you know, one time she was 5 years old. It was her fifth birthday, and my wife and I had already talked. I just wasn't for getting, piercings. So I didn't
Hmm.
want her to get her ears pierced until she was old enough to make that decision on her own.
Okay.
Uh, so her fifth birthday, um, my friend, my daughter's godmother. Uh, my daughter's birthday is in the summertime, so we're all out on my deck, bunch of kids and family and friends, and she whips out this little box, and inside of the box are some earrings that I can see they're for pierced ears, right?
Okay.
So, uh, so my wife and I had a subsequent, discussion about it because she and the godmother then got together and decided to get these earrings, and I felt some kind of way about that, but I let it get past me. So anyway, the day comes where we're going to take her, which my wife is going to take her to Riverview to get her ears pierced, and my daughter came into the room. I'm sitting at the computer, and she asked me if I would go with her. And I said, sure, I'll go. And then she says, Dad, is it going to hurt? So I stopped what I was doing on the computer. And I turned and looked at her, and I said, yes, it's going to hurt, baby. And then she says, because mommy said it's just going to be a little prick. I turned and looked at her again and said, it's going to hurt, and it's going to hurt bad. Now,
Did she change her mind at that point?
no, no, because she wants to believe what she wants to believe, so she chose to go with mommy's answer. So
Okay.
we go, and the nurse is putting the earring, and we're getting ready to put an earring or mark the first one where she's going to put it. And they pull out this gun, and then they shoot her in the ear. And my daughter let out the loudest wail that you could possibly. I mean, everybody in the hospital had to hear her in there screaming, right?
Yes.
And now we got to spend the next 15 to 20 minutes wrestling with her to get the other ear done because she doesn't want it, right? Uh, but I believe that what she walked away from with that experience is that, uh, no matter how tough the truth is,
Hmm.
uh, dad is going to tell me the truth,
That's
you
good.
know.
That's a great lesson.
Yeah.
That was a great lesson. Yeah. So you and your wife come from two parent homes. What is your parenting style like? And what is your wife's parenting style?
You know, my wife, like I said, she's a softie, and sometimes I accuse her of, not. She's hard on my daughter about things she probably shouldn't be hard on her about. Like she doesn't like her borrowing her clothes without asking for it first, and things of that nature. Where I'm more concerned about her staying out to 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and she lives in my house.
Right.
Uh, well, I'm concerned about it because I have to stay awake waiting for her because I can't go to sleep. My wife, on the other hand, she knows I'm gonna do that, so she's sleeping soundly. Uh,
Yeah.
so you know, I'm uh, I'm more, like I said, realist. I try to drive the point home that there's nothing good happening in the street that time of night. And it, I just think that my wife would probably say, she'll get past that. I'm not leaving that up to chance. I'm going to say something.
Right. So
So
you just a
that,
traditional dad.
eh, I don't know that, I don't know that I would call it traditional. I put a high value on communication, you know,
Okay.
and I know a lot of guys who, you know, I don't know. They kind of just take a laissez-faire approach to parenting.
Mm.
I just can't do that. You know, I,
Right.
you only get one shot at it. You don't get
Right.
to. You understand what I'm saying? And there's no do overs. So I got to do this right the first time. So
So you took your style after your mom or your dad, or is a combination of both of them?
it's probably more my mom. Yeah,
Okay.
my mom was Uh, she was strict and she was a realist as well. My father was the fun guy. Uh,
Oh, okay.
yeah, he got to he because he went to work, came home, and went to bed and went to work again. And then
Yeah.
on the weekends when he was off, he took us to the park. You know what I'm saying? So
Y'all had
he,
fun.
yeah, 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 he did the
Mhm.
fun things with us. So
So when
and
you look at your in-laws, which style is your wife more like, her mom or her dad?
her dad, hands down.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
She's a lot like her dad. My wife is, you know.
Easy going, laid back.
Yeah, he just.
Everything will be all right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. So, do you think your parenting style would change if you had an only boy?
Yes. There's no question in my
Why?
mind.
Why?
I would I would eh, my expectations for a boy are just different than they are for a girl, you know. I don't know that that's fair. I'll never find out, but you know, I just I you know, I'm a male. So things that I allow my daughter to do as a female, I would never allow my son to do, you know. So now,
Such as?
uh, you know, just expecting things to just be handed to you, be given to you, you know.
Okay.
You know, you're gonna.
Entitlements.
Mhm,
Entitlements.
yeah, yeah. You know,
Yeah, he'd have
as
to
a
go work
male,
for whatever he wanted.
absolutely, you have to go out and work. Yeah. So,
Okay.
my daughter, she got a lot of stuff, and she didn't have to, work for him per se. You know, all she had to do
Right.
was just go to school, get good grades, behave, and
Mm-hmm.
Whereas a boy,
Yeah.
man, you're gonna have to go out and work, boy. You know, because I
Yeah.
did when I was a kid. You know.
Right. So, did you notice a difference in children with siblings and those without? Because, I mean, when you look at your daughter, you think about you and your siblings. Like, is there a real difference that you see? Or like her cousins that have siblings? Is there something that you can see about children with siblings and then, a only child that stands out?
Yeah, I mean, just the one thing that stands out the most, like I said, is that uh, she my daughter doesn't have any or many. I'm gonna say many, but I'm sure she probably doesn't have any stories to tell where she had to do without anything. You know, she
Hmm.
didn't have to share anything. Anything
Right.
she wanted, she pretty much got. Uh, so that is a major difference. I tell her about how my parents didn't get me a car when I was 16 or 17, and she quickly points out to me, but it was seven of y'all. So you
She
know,
understands. She
yeah.
understands. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So your daughter has graduated from college and she's living on her own. Is there anything that you would do differently in the way that you raised her?
Uh, in the earlier years, I don't think I adjusted my style of parenting. I was a lot more uh, protective and strict and guarded of her when she was younger. And
Mm-hmm.
as she got older, she appreciated that a lot less. So that caused friction
Okay.
between us. And and one day I decided I'm just not going to be that guy anymore.
Okay.
And that was when she was 13, and I haven't been that guy since. And it's a beautiful thing to see that all of the lessons that I was so worried about her missing.
Mhm.
She didn't. She understood everything, and she
Wow.
regurgitates it to me on a regular basis. So
It's
yeah.
good. It's good. So how do you show her that you love her?
Uh, just by being there whenever she needs me. One of the things that and mind you, I need you to understand, I'm not talking about your garden variety wants.
Hmm.
But one of the things that my father that I was most proud of about him is that I literally saw every single person in our family, cousins. sisters, brothers, everybody come to him in need,
Wow.
and I never saw him say no.
Really?
And that's what my daughter has in me. If she ever needs anything, I'm not gonna say no to her.
Wow. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That is beautiful.
Now, I
All
might
right.
not be able to do it how she wants to, or the
Mhm.
exact moment, but it's gonna get done. So
Okay. That's fair. That's
yeah.
very fair. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very fair. Well, all right, Mike, we're going to take a 30-second break.
All right.
And so I need everybody to stay tuned. We will be right back to Real Dad Speak. Don't go
All
anywhere.
righty. All right.
Hi, are you thinking about having that backyard barbecue or taking dad to the neighborhood restaurant again this year for Father's Day? Well, why don't you do something different this year and bring your dad out to our Father's Day luncheon being held at the DSO located at 3711 Woodward Avenue in Midtown Detroit. Your dad will enjoy a great meal, live music by the Class Act Band, laughs by comedian Mike Bonner, and our DJ Rod S. will be playing music to help your dad dance off that delicious meal. I'm Sarah McClure, the host of Real Dad Speak podcast, and I'm inviting you to bring your dad out for an afternoon of music, fun, and laughs. We'll have great door prizes and several contests for dad to win more prizes, including Best Dressed Dad. So save the backyard barbecue and messy cleanup for the 4th of July and bring your dad out for an afternoon of music, fun, and laughs. Tickets are available online at dso.org and at the DSO box office in Midtown Detroit. I hope to see you there. Welcome back, everybody, to Real Dad Speak. We're talking with Mike Lee about raising an only child. His beautiful daughter graduated from college and now she's living on her own. All right, at this point in the show, we're going to talk to Mike. I call this my final five. So I either ask you a question or fill in the blank.
All
So,
right.
Mike, number one, what's the best advice you received about being a dad?
The best advice I received about being a dad, I think it's not just about being a dad, it's just about uh, humanity itself. My father didn't have a college education, but was perhaps the wisest man that I've ever known. And there was this thing that he used to say. He wasn't educated, so he didn't speak the King's English as properly as I would. But he said it's a po, meaning poor. He says a po win, it can't change.
Oh, wow. Like that.
And basically what I derived from that, which was led to the situation I told you about with my daughter. I told you I looked at my style of parenting. I can't change her at that time, but the
Right.
one person that I can change is me. So
Yes.
so and I would have been a very poor win if I couldn't have changed. And
Amen to that. All right. Number two, would you want your daughter to marry a man like you?
it's inevitable. She's going to. I tell my
Okay.
I tell my buddies who have daughters. I said, be careful and cognizant of how you behave in front of your daughter, how you treat um, her mother, because one day she's going to grow up and marry you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So, what advice would you give to your daughter or other young ladies her age who are thinking about dating?
Um, the advice I gave her is to, you know, be prepared to make compromises and, in some instances, some sacrifices, but always look for a man that is going to love you, respect you. Love and respect are first and foremost.
Hmm.
Uh, but once that relationship turns into one where you can contemplating marriage, then he also has to be able to provide for you and protect you.
Amen.
So if he can't check all those boxes, he's probably not the guy for you.
All All right. Okay, so number four, if you had to pick a subject to teach young ladies for a day, what would you teach them?
If I had to what?
Pick a subject to teach young ladies for one day. What subject would you choose to teach them?
Cooking.
Cooking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why cooking?
Uh, you know, I'm a man, and when we were children, especially in my household, I grew up watching my mother cook all of the meals or whatever.
Right.
And it's at a certain point, I was a teenager when it happened. I realized that, I can cook too, but not only was it important that I learned just the mechanics of cooking, but I need to know how to feed myself if the need
Mm-hmm.
should arise. There was no guarantee I was going to marry somebody who was going to cook for me,
Right.
or that actually knew how to cook, So uh, to me, it was very important just to be able to cook a meal for myself, prepare a meal for myself,
Okay.
Something that we're going to have to do every single day is eat. And if you're going to eat quality food and cook good food.
I like that. I like that. Number five, my final question is not a question, it's a fill in the blank. So, what three words would your daughter use to complete this sentence? My dad is blank, blank, and blank.
uh, my dad is uh, loving, kind, and smart.
All right, I like
Hmm.
that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Mike Lee, for coming on and sharing your stories about fatherhood with your only child. We appreciate you.
Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate being here.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening. Stay tuned. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Real Dad Speak. A new episode comes out every Tuesday at 7 o'clock on YouTube and Spotify. So don't miss it. Thank you very much.